Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha Tabb. This is Module 12 over tort liability. First of all, what is tort liability? Before starting this, I actually had no idea, so this was awesome. A tort is an actionable or civil wrong committed against one person by another that is independent of contract. So there are a couple different types of tort. The two that I'm going to go over right now are intentional tort and negligent tort. So, intentional tort is an offense committed by an individual who intends to do harm on another person or understands that his or her actions may cause harm. Some things that you may know about, like assault, battery, false imprisonment, defamation, fraud, deceit, and trespass, those are all types of intentional tort. The second type that I'm going to talk about is negligent tort. That is a tort committed by failure to act as a reasonable person to someone whom he or she owes a duty. Types of negligent tort is slip and fall accidents, car, truck, motorcycle, bike accidents, pedestrian accidents, and then medical malpractice. The first case that I'm going to go over is the Frame versus COMEAUX case. So it was involved with an 8th grader and then a science teacher that was acting as a guest teacher for someone else. This happened in March of 1995 at a school in Louisiana. So what happened was the science teacher was acting as a guest teacher for another teacher, and he was giving the spelling test, and there were a couple disruptive students. He had gotten a couple disruptive students out of the class, but then this student, Frame, decided to interrupt the spelling test, stand up to, I don't know what his intention of was, standing up to the guest teacher, while the guest teacher did grab his arm and then started taking him out of the classroom. The student was then walked backwards down the aisle, where he hit a podium and then he fell into a chalkboard. Later on, his mom did call the cops and then did end up pressing charges against the teacher. And then they released the teacher of his duties. The outcome of that was the court found it was necessary for COMEAUX to remove him because he needed to maintain order in the classroom. Although they did find that there was battery involved, they felt like it was necessary to maintain order in the classroom. So something that I think might have happened at my school, if this were to happen at my school, they would either put the teacher on leave or relieve the teacher. They would investigate the situation and then possibly reevaluate. They might, if they decided to keep the teacher on, they would maybe refer the teacher to trainings about levels of misbehavior and how to handle this situation, while the whole staff is probably getting a refresher on all of how to handle this situation. Something that they could have done ahead of time to be proactive would be to train all the teachers and guest teachers on how to handle situations like this one. Who can you call? Do you evacuate? Like, what do you need to do when when a situation like this arises in your classroom? Professional ethics. Don't touch students, and call for support when needed. Refer to levels of misbehavior and school policies when necessary. The second case that I'm going to go over is Rollins versus Concordia Parish School District. The who is a 4th grade student or a group of 4th grade students, and then the school board, but really a guest teacher. This happened in March of 1982 at a school in Louisiana. So the situation, or what happened, was the guest teacher was out at recess, monitoring the kids, and told a group of girls to get off the merry-go-round because she noticed that they were spinning it way too quickly. So while she was like, hey girls, probably get off the merry-go-round, that's not very safe, she noticed that some boys over on a different part of the playground were arguing over a basketball game. So she had turned away to solve this new problem, possibly assuming that the girls were going to get off the merry-go-round. However, they did not. And then within 30 seconds, someone was like, hey, so-and-so's hurt. They had fallen off of the merry-go-round while they were walking to get off while the merry-go-round was going, if that makes sense. So she was inside the merry-go-round and she was walking to get off and had fallen off and she had hurt herself. So The outcome of that was that the court decided that they were negligent in not properly supervising the playground. Um, and that the court also found that the student was 50% liable in causing her injuries because she was on the inside of the merry-go-round and was walking on it while it was in motion. So that caused her damage award to go from $10,000 to $5,000. Some things that my school probably would have done, they would have investigated the situation. And we do have a policy at our school that guest teachers are not allowed to be the only people on the playground. And in general, like when I have playground duty, I have to have another teacher with me at all times on playground duty, because we are in charge of so many kids out on the playground. And then something, that they could have done with the guest teacher or guest teachers or teachers in general before, to be proactive, would be to go over the expectations on the playground quite a bit and also have them posted. Talk about the power of follow through. Maybe that guest teacher should have made sure that every single person was going to get off that merry-go-round or stop the merry-go-round before solving another problem. I could see pros and cons to doing that. Also have a rule that guest teachers should not be alone on the playground. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, it says professional ethics, and I didn't change it from the last one. But the professional ethics would be to just not have a guest teacher be alone on the playground, and that just following playground rules and telling guest teachers or teachers in general about what is expected on the playground. I apologize for not changing that. The third case that I'm going to talk about is the HOYEM versus Manhattan Beach City School District. The Who, it was a 10-year-old boy. This happened in July of 1974 in a school in California. So what had happened was the boy or the student was attending summer school and had just randomly decided that they wanted to leave throughout the day and play hooky. So they left the school grounds before summer school was over in his own violation. He was by an intersection when a motorcycle had hit him. His mother had sued the district for medical bills, emotional and physical damages, because of that negligence and supervision. The outcome was a school district bears a duty to supervise students while they are on the school premises during the school day, and the district may be held liable for a student's injuries, which are approximately caused by the district's failure to exercise reasonable care under the circumstances. But ultimately, the school was not held responsible for this, that boy's injuries. So some things that I think my school would do, they would definitely investigate the situation like they would in any situation. Find out the when, how, and the why the student was able to leave the school grounds. And then notify the staff of the situation and how they would possibly handle that in the future. To be proactive about it, maybe there would be a policy of what to do when a student leaves campus on their own. And then also professional ethics. You need to call someone, call the administrator, call the parent when a student is found to be skipping. The fourth case that I'm going to talk about is Johnson Johnson's versus the school district of Millard. So the Who is a first grader and the music teacher. The when is September 1993 at a school in Nebraska. So what had happened was the music teacher instructed the kids to sing and then play a game of London Bridge. While the students were playing the London Bridge, the game where you like put your hands up and then you put them down and the student is like inside, you can look at the picture and see that, and then you're like shaking the student. So while they were doing that, apparently a first grader was swung too fast and hard and was thrown into a shelf where he received a cut on his head. The teacher was not actively involved in the activity, so she did not actually witness the situation. And it was said in the actual case file or law or something, where you read about the case, that the student had asked multiple times for the people to stop. So I don't know if the music was too loud and the teacher didn't hear. Either way, the outcome was that the court found as a result of the accident that he, sustained an injury and damages and awarded him $1,226.10 for medical expenses, $15,000 for permanent disfigurement, and $5,000 for pain and suffering. And then So the teacher was held, the teacher did have some sort of punishment, reprimand after that. Um, so some things that I think that my school would do is have the teacher observe other teachers being present if they did not get rid of the teacher. Um, so they would make sure that they knew to be present. They would also remind the whole staff of this situation and how important it is to monitor students. To be proactive, you could tell staff about cases like this before. Where schools and teachers are held liable for these types of situations. Remind the teachers of the importance of being with it, being aware, and being engaged in classroom activities and learning. And then professional ethics. When you know that you have a duty to learn with, teach, and care for others, it is your responsibility to maintain control and be present in the classroom. Otherwise, situations like this could happen a lot more often. And the last case that I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the Barnett versus Atlanta Public Schools, or Caldwell was the teacher, case. So the who is a high school student and a teacher. The when was October 2008 in a school in Georgia. So what had happened was the teacher had left the room after asking another teacher to listen out for her class while the teacher was gone. So while the teacher was gone, they were not supervised. So two students started horseplaying, causing one student to fall on the ground while the other student fell on top of him, causing the student to become unconscious and unfortunately dying from the situation. This case was by far the one that I felt like I might connect to the most, only because randomly throughout the day, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. Can someone watch my class? The difference between this case and the case that I happen to run into every single day at school is someone physically comes into my room and watches my class, and I make sure it's like just during snack time or, something like that. But in this case, no one actually came into the room to watch the students. So, and when the teacher was confronted about it, she lied. And when they found out that she had lied, she had come up with multiple excuses of why she wasn't in her classroom. What was she doing? Why wasn't someone watching it? And they ultimately had found that there was a hall monitor that could have come into her class and watched her class. So that's kind of a bummer. The outcome, because the teacher asked the other teacher to listen out for her class while she was gone, and because of the school policy, did not define supervision, they had no definition of supervision. The teacher was not held liable because they had found that she asked her teammate or the person sharing the doorway with her to listen out for her class. Well, that in their eyes was a form of supervision. So that's unfortunate that there was no exact definition of what that had meant. So then what I would have found that my school would definitely investigate this situation. In their eyes, this would probably be very, very, very serious because someone did pass away from this situation. They would tell staff that they are not able to leave their classroom unattended. If you need to go to the bathroom or leave the classroom for any situation, you would call admin, support staff, someone to physically come and watch your classroom. And in my eyes, that's just a thing that you would do anyway. I mean, kids are crazy. I have first grade, but I couldn't imagine the things that high schoolers could get away with when their teacher is not in the room. So that leads me to professional ethics. When you have a duty to learn with, teach, and care for others, it is your responsibility to maintain control and be present. Because teachers do often have to go to the restroom, it is important to have someone actually watching your classroom. And then here are my references. And I just have a good day. Thank you.